Okay, cool. So I gotta remember my intro for you. Or no, we were gonna do that. We're just gonna do
freestyle it.
Freestyle.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we want to do? Hey guys, this is the Jim and Matt show. I'm Matt Cornelison.
I'm Jim McKenzie.
And we're talking shop, creative shop.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
We make videos and we make stuff.
I think we make films.
Make films?
Yeah.
Is video kind of like a no-no word these days?
For me, it is.
It is? Okay.
I'll explain.
You're an artiste.
Well, let me explain why I think this way.
Okay.
We can talk about it in a minute.
Video versus film, what's the right word? Your take on it. Jim, take it away.
I think film. I think it's the only difference because I think film is more of a deliberate intent, in my impression. Where video, when someone calls you a videographer, does that bother you?
It does, yeah, because I think it's less about the fact that it's the word video versus film, more about the fact that I think of myself as more of like a storyteller.
Right.
So the medium itself to me isn't the thing that bothers me. It's like the videographer I think of. Totally nothing wrong with the videographers because
no. They're
amazing and you need that. And we are videographers, I guess, is one of the things we do.
Sure.
But I think that limits my identity. Is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? I think that's kind of what you're saying. I completely agree. I think it's because my background being a designer, an art director.
Yep.
Someone calls me a videographer. It feels kind of limiting. I'm not, like I said, no disrespect to anybody who is a videographer.
Totally.
But I think we just happen to use a tool, a camera, more often than not, and is the medium that we decide to use it with.
Right.
But I think when I'm in videography mode, I show up to an event and I shoot the event. And the only planning I might have to do is, okay, what kind of gear I need to bring, what kind of riggings and whatnot. But the event's going on and I just have to capture it.
Right. So maybe why don't I pose this question here? So are you a filmmaker or are you a videographer or are you neither one of those things?
That's a great question. I don't know. I would, of course, we all want to lean towards filmmakers. It sounds
way cooler, right?
Yeah,
I mean, basically, it just sounds cooler. That's what I want.
Yeah,
I want to be whatever the cooler thing is.
Yeah, I want to be with the cool kids.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is I think storyteller is a really better label for me, if I had to say, because I don't want to limit myself or limit my client's prospective, product to just saying, hey, I'm going to make you a video,
right?
Or I'm going to make you a commercial.
I'm going to tell your story.
That might not be the solution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That it might be that, hey, we need to do some kind of print media.
Right.
It might be that we, some kind of a campaign, a brand development.
Yeah.
So by putting that label on it, we're going down a rabbit hole here, but.
Isn't that what we're doing? Maybe it's Down the Rabbit Hole. Maybe
there
that's
you
the
go.
name of our show.
Yeah.
Welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole.
Nice.
I totally duffed that.
Yeah.
This is called Down the Rabbit Hole. We'll just come up with a new name every time we want to.
Yeah.
This is Down the Rabbit Hole with Jim and Matt, and we're going to go down a rabbit hole about being filmmakers and videographers.
I agree.
So
you know what, Matt? I was going to ask you, and how long have we known each other? How many years?
It's got to be over 10 years, right?
Really?
At least.
Wow.
Well, I don't know, because it's close to that.
Yeah.
It's got to be 8 to... Let's call it 9 years.
Good years.
We've known each other for 9 years.
Yeah, quality years.
Yeah.
And anybody who doesn't know Matt's far more of a celebrity than I am by any stretch. You're quite a diverse guy. You know what I mean?
You think so?
Yeah. I mean,
My mom thinks that I'm cool.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters, really.
Yeah. But you know what? Maybe tell some people who may not know you a little bit about what you like to do outside of making, films.
Yeah. I am an avid baker. Just kidding. I was trying to say something.
Trying to be
super
clever.
low.
Yeah.
Trying to be clever, but there's no room for that here. We have to get down to business. No, I partake in the entertainment arts. I like to entertain people, so that ranges everything from like professional mustache competitions to professional air guitar competitions. So it's a wide net of entertainment. Actually, that's a very specific narrow net, but a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But I'd say like I am involved in music. I'm involved in entertainment and comedy sort of is the umbrella over the top of all that.
Yeah, I remember going to one of your events or going to the National Air Guitar Championship. What year was that?
That was
when you
2011.
won the whole enchilada?
Oh, 2010 was when I won the National Air Guitar.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Oh
8 years ago.
God.
So I knew you
We knew
years before that.
Yeah, so it'd be 10.
So we're at least a decade.
Yeah. So
we've logged a
so
decade.
yeah. So it was amazing, and so.
Thanks.
And I've always been just impressed with the fact that you can put yourself out there, and I would love to be that person. I'm just I can't. I try to. Maybe I put myself out in different ways, but it always impresses me that you throw caution to the wind and you're able to have fun and in a way almost kind of like make fun of yourself. And I think it's awesome.
It's easy to make fun of me. It's like I'm a huge target for I can make fun of myself. A lot of people can make fun of me. I think if you're like open to doing that, it's so much easier than when you put yourself out there.
How does that fold into your business and stuff?
Yeah. Well, I think I started a company called Fun Guy Media. So right, it's already a dad joke. It already makes fun of itself in the name. So, but I think that if you're trying to create something, whether it's a company or whatever it is you're doing, if you're trying to create something that sort of serves you, I think it's important to sort of try to bring yourself into it as much as you can. So for me, it's like a little bit of my own personality sort of reflects itself in the company and everything we do. So the type of work that I'm trying to do, that I'm spending most of my time doing is, yes, it's filmmaking or storytelling, but I always try to have some sort of a authentic or humorous twist to it. And so we're creating, like Netflix style shows for clients that might have like a funny character in there. Or sometimes I'm in the video and I'm the spokesperson as playing sort of like, somebody that you can kind of poke fun at, and playing a character, that sort of a thing. So sort of like creating character driven, I think the character element of what I'm trying to do is always present, I guess.
I think it's awesome, and I love the honesty
thank you.
that you're bringing forth in your work, because I think it would be a shame if you didn't, to be honest. And let's face it, we all have to do projects and stuff that we don't like to do.
Totally.
That's why it's a job, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I got into doing this stuff because I wanted to do something that I had value to, that really made me feel good about it. When I'm done, I go, oh my God, I made this. And there's something really great about what we do.
Yeah.
Because of that, you have this sense of, it's easy to forget when you're in the middle of it, because you're hitting deadlines, you're doing all this stuff. But when you see it and you created this thing that just kind of, a lot of people go, how in the heck did you think of this? And actually turns out pretty decent, is a pretty rewarding feeling.
Totally, yeah. So. Well, and especially I feel like for you, so thinking about your unique talents, I think that if I was to introduce you to an audience, if I was a host of like a late night show or something like that, I would say my next guest is a longtime co-creative storyteller in the Chicago area, founder of McKinsey Creative, and also a avid martial arts expert. Is expert an okay word?
Yeah, I guess so. I've been doing it long enough. I guess you could call it that. Sure, why not?
And could totally kick my ass if he wanted to, but I don't think that's gonna happen today, because we're also really close friends and like to make stuff together. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim McKinsey. But the thing that I think when I think about you as a creative, as a storyteller, one of the things that's always impressed me was just that you're able to do almost every single piece of the puzzle. Like everything from you're the videographer, but you're the director, but you're the editor, but you're the animator, and you do all of those things like incredibly well. So I like when you create something, not that you're doing not that that's you want to play that role necessarily, but you are capable of. So like you could literally you could literally work on a team and teach every single person on that team how to improve or how to to excel in their craft. So I've always thought of you kind of as a mentor in the work that we've done together.
Oh, man.
Because I've learned a lot from you, and especially your take how essentially resourceful you are. Because literally, when we've done stuff together, we've been using tools that you made from scratch, like a homemade teleprompter. Like the first teleprompter that I ever used was something him and his dad made from scratch.
Right.
Or the dolly that you made with PVC pipes, and it's on a track and it goes around, and and the product was super professional.
Yeah.
So
Thank
I just
you.
always respect that about that mentality. It's not to say that you don't have the most professional gear and the most professional approach, but it's like a mentality thing where if you had a problem, you're going to solve it, because if you don't have the solution, you'll just make it.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that, and thanks for that, man. I really appreciate that. I mean, because I feel the same way about you and how resourceful you are, and your sense of storytelling, your sense of just understanding the client. I've always been impressed with that, and you really are vested into the project and understanding really what you're trying to say. And I think, my background of being an art director, I worked in agency world for 13 years prior to getting out of college. And my major was visual communications, graphic design.
Right.
And I've always had a love for art my entire life, sculpture, painting, building things. My father's an engineer by trade. And my mom was an art major, in college and stuff. So
it's in the blood.
Yeah, it's in the blood, exactly. And I loved making movies, make Super 8 movies and stuff when I was a kid. Dating myself, but nonetheless, at any rate, so I always wanted to make movies. I always wanted to do those things. Got into design. It's a little more safer route.
Sure.
My parents kind of felt, no disrespecting mom and dad, I know you'll be watching this. I have no regrets.
Yeah.
And when the whole thing kind of started to manifest the way it is today, with the way technology has made it affordable to do some really high level production at a budget on a smaller crew or even a one-man crew.
Yeah.
It was that time. But I think the agency years for me gave me a lot of insight, because I worked at smaller agencies. So I had to wear a lot of hats.
Right.
And understanding that. And growing up, like I said, my father can build, he built a computer in the 70s piece by piece.
Yeah.
It's
incredible.
Yeah, he's built flight simulators. He's done all kinds of crazy things. So he's building a World War I airplane right now. Not a model airplane, one you get in to fly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
with
a model
with a group of people.
in the sense that it's the exact same size.
But it's by scratch. They're building it all by scratch.
Really?
Yeah. They're getting the engine stuff, but he's building. This thing is it's a.
And are they going to fly it?
Yes, it's a
Wow.
Jenny. It's a World War I Jenny.
You can attach cameras to it, right?
Oh, heck yeah.
And then fly that thing.
You better believe it.
Yeah.
So I was raised in that environment, so it's kind of hard not to.
Right.
My older brother is an amazing, craftsman himself. But I see things, and I don't like to say to somebody. That's the other thing too. I always found offensive when I was in the agency world, that people who didn't know how to use their tools, or didn't understand the printing process, or didn't understand photography,
right,
or didn't understand these things, and they're directing people, but they
like
don't understand themselves.
Lights, or
don't know how to illustrate. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Concept of lighting and this and that. If you don't have a working knowledge of it, I'm not saying you have to be an expert.
Yeah.
But you should have a working knowledge of those things, so you can better understand how to get that result from whoever you're working with.
Right.
To communicate with them.
Totally. Yeah.
You gotta
speak the language.
Yes. And there's really no shortcut to that,
yeah.
I think. And so, and it also makes your job a little more interesting too, that you can do other things. And now, as I get a little older, I say a little older,
yeah.
I don't want to do everything. I want to be able to be, an expert at certain things.
Sure.
And, but it's still, being independent, and I staff up people when they need them, just like you.
Yep. Based off how big the project
exactly.
is.
And which, my question to you then too is, what point do you realize there's a stopgap at, when you're working on a project and you kind of go, okay, I need to bring somebody in who's better at this than I am? I mean, when do you realize that?
Well, I'm constantly just being like, yeah, there's definitely somebody better at this than I am, all the time. I feel that way. But then I'm like, well, I guess they hired me, so I better do this. No, not really. But I think I'm getting pretty clear on what my strengths are and where I can like add the most value. And I think it just depends. For me, it's like if it's because as like a solopreneur, I guess you have these really small projects,
Right.
but then you can have these really big projects, like a big campaign or that sort of a thing. And so like on the smaller scale, it might make sense for me to be behind the camera and also editing the piece and that sort of a thing, where you don't scale up the project with a bunch of other creative people, and it doesn't demand the red camera
Sure.
or the whatever that I'm
Right.
not really the person for anyways. But then on the larger projects, like a large marketing campaign, I know that like this is an opportunity for me to like probably play the role of the director or the role of the producer, or if we're interviewing people, like instead of being behind camera, I'm the interviewer. Like I think for me, I'm the strongest at sort of that strategic like direction for the project, writing, interviewing, and I bring in other people like a DP or a gaffer and the crew and that sort of a thing that I know they're spending every day doing that.
Sure.
And I'm not spending every day
Sure.
doing that. So I think to me, it's like the difference between like the size of the project is where I know I need to. It's kind of like you get the right tools for the job, right? Just like
Yeah.
if you're gonna do a construction project, do I need a sledgehammer to put this tack in, or do I just need a tack hammer?
But it feels good.
But sometimes you just want to tear the whole damn thing
That's
down.
right. Well, I completely agree with you on that. I mean, I think I'm my own worst to my benefit and to my credit and to my detriment is I like to do everything.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's why you've like become I mean,
I don't know
you
if
don't
I'm
want
an
to say
expert,
this, but
no.
you are like an expert in everything.
not possible.
No, it's not possible. But somehow every little piece of the pie you've seemed to have like skilled up in every single thing. And I think you're right. It's probably not the thing that you want to be doing. You don't want to play every role, but it's got to help you have that conversation with the people you work with.
Yeah, it does. And I think, I think that's the one thing that I think that probably the best takeaway from my years of experience in being independent, and I've been, let's see, how many years? I think it's like coming up on 17 years I've been independent.
Yeah. Wow. Congratulations.
Thanks,
That's
man.
amazing.
Yeah. So
People must like what you do. People must like the stuff.
that I fool them pretty well.
Yeah,
I
fake
think
it till you make
that's
it.
probably it. Yeah.
That's actually if there's any creative people watching this, maybe fake it till you make it is my advice. When you're starting out.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a great advice. I think the thing you do is you do the old crap moment.
Yeah.
You go, oh yes, I can do this, and you go, oh crap. You hang up the phone,
Yeah.
and you go, oh crap, what did I get myself into?
Right.
And so I've had many of those moments where you take on a project, you go, yeah, because you see this opportunity, but you see that there's a large risk factor involved because you simply don't know how to do it.
Right.
And I'm speaking very candidly about this now because I've had enough behind
Yeah,
me
totally.
to be able to say it.
You've gone through those oh crap moments.
Yeah, I've gone through those old crap moments.
You've stepped in the crap.
Yes,
Your
many-
shoes are very crappy.
Yes.
I mean, if you guys can't see this, if we get a close up on the shoes here, you can't really see it in the camera, but they're really crappy. They smell like shit.
Yeah.
Can we bleep that out?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I'm full of it too.
Yeah,
At any
it's kind
rate,
of coming out of your ears.
Yeah.
And I think that the oh crap moment to me is about getting out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And so like that's where the growth happens, right? Your growth does not happen inside of your comfort zone.
No, it happens in the crap moment.
It happens stepping in the crap. You got to step in as much crap as you can.
I agree, and it's all joking aside, and you hear this a lot that people say this is kind of a catch thing. I hear more and more now is that you have to make mistakes in a lot of them, and I agree. You don't want those to happen, but they have to happen.
Sure.
Because if you don't, then you're honestly not taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
You're just trying to stay in that default mode. It's easy to do because it's very comforting, and you know that you're not going to be, more than likely not going to get
Yeah.
into a oh crap situation.
And I would say that if you are, if your purpose, or if you are somebody who is trying to like level up or take the next step in your career, or just simply advance your skill set, I think that you owe it to yourself to take on a project or a job or a role that is maybe outside of something you've done before. Like, and that's a way to, that is a way, you are maybe stepping in it, but like if you can just have that mentality of like, but I will figure this out, and I will do the extra work.
A lot of late nights.
Late nights, I'll put the late nights
Weekends.
in, or I'll call my friend up who
Yep.
who has the answers that I don't have, or I'll Google it.
Google's a wonderful tool. That's the friend I usually have.
Yeah.
Is Google.
Man, the internet has
Oh,
got
God.
everything these days. You can find any answer you need. So that's, I think the oh crap moment is a good thing
It is.
to have those.
I think this is for anybody who wants to become an entrepreneur, who wants to be good at their craft. You have to put yourself out there, and it's that exercise of being scared, doing it,
Yeah.
and then putting yourself on that edge and just being able to say, okay, I may fail, I may succeed, but you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable,
Yeah.
right? There's another thing I like saying lately is being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like,
Right.
I don't really like being on a camera. I like being behind the camera.
Yeah.
So this is
But here you are.
exactly.
Are you comfortable?
Huh?
Are you comfortable?
Nah, probably.
I kind of have a cramp in my leg.
Yeah, my knees. I had knee surgery on from all my years
yeah.
of martial arts, so
So.
it starts to kind of cramp up,
Yeah.
and I got to do this, but it's all good.
Yeah. But like
I don't know if that answers the question.
metaphorically speaking,
Yes,
you're comfortable.
physically and metaphorically, yeah. So,
Got
but
it.
no, I think it's important. I think that's with any field is to. And like, I don't have it all figured out, but I think that's the one thing. If you want to be successful at anything you do, if you don't do it to failure,
Yeah.
then you're not going to be good at it.
Right.
You have
Well, you
to-
can probably relate to that in your martial arts.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And when you're
You have to put
pumping the iron.
you have to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's important though. I've learned more from that stuff, getting knocked out, to having my nose broken, my knee, my shoulder dislocated.
Yeah.
I learned more. Not that I want that pain, but honestly, I wouldn't trade that because I've learned the realities of making mistakes and
Right.
doing these things. And if you really want to take your craft seriously, if you're always doing it with somebody who you can, if you're the best guy in the gym, the biggest guy who lifts weights, or the best martial artist in the school, then you're not with the right people,
Right.
because you
Because
need
you're
to go
having
somewhere
a-
else where you're not the best guy there and
Right.
are the best woman there. Somebody's going to show you up, and then you're like, oh, I got something to learn.
Yeah.
And every time I go to class, because I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 22 years on and off, but I've been pretty consistent for quite a while now. And it's a very nerve-wracking thing to go into the school knowing that there's people there that they don't want to hurt you, but they're going to show you up every night. They
Sure.
want to show you up. So when you go to the class, you go, oh, this guy showed up. You see his car in the lot. You go, oh, come on.
He's gonna kick my ass.
Yeah, like tonight's going to be a humbling night. You know,
Yeah.
you kind of know that.
Uh-huh.
But I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, sure.
So,
So yeah, out of your comfort zone.
yes,
That's what it's all about.
yes,
So let's talk about brainstorming.
yes.
What is your, so we make stuff, we make videos, we make animations, we're storytellers, right? And as part of that, you have to have a brainstorming process. It doesn't
Have to
just,
have a brain too.
You have to have a brain. That's why I get other people to do the brainstorming
Me too.
for me. That's my process. But what is your, seriously, short version, 20 second, 30 second, like what is your brainstorming process? What is important to you? Do you have like a rule or a thing you kind of live and die by?
I think the most important thing to do is be disciplined enough to realize, don't get too far ahead of yourself and forget what you're trying to say. And what I mean, it sounds really simple, but don't forget who your audience is, what your message, what is your main message? Because a lot of times your clients will say, I need you to say this, 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 and this all about it. I'm like, well, wait a minute, what's the priority number one? What do you want your takeaway? If they don't hear anything else, what do you want to make sure they hear?
Right.
Who is your audience? Why are they even tuning into this?
Right.
Okay, it's not about how good looking. All that stuff should be assumed. You should make good looking work. It should sound great. It should be lit right. Those are things you
Yeah.
should be doing. But if your message is not hitting the mark, if you're losing your audience, and you're losing your main storyline, then you failed. So that's the first thing I want to try and do is, what are we trying to do with this? What does it make? And then that's
so answer that question.
Yeah, answer that question.
Yeah.
Figure out what that is first, and what's the priority of this thing. And if you don't have that, then what's the point of doing it?
Yeah.
So how about you? I mean,
I think, well, and you think about like, where does brainstorming happen, or like for what purpose? It's, think about a process of creating like a video, for example. Obviously, it's the very, very, very beginning sort of phase, in like the pre-production phase, and it could be like, okay, well, what's the creative treatment, or the visual style of this video? What kind of color palette are we going to use? Or it could be writing a script, right? Like, who are the, if it's sort of a fictional piece, who are the characters, and how do they, to your point, bring the message to life? It's not like you're just brainstorming constantly, right? There's sort of a kind of a moment in time where this happens. And for me, like, one of the most important rules is, I think about the book Yes and, from which is basically, like, if people don't know that book, it's essentially Second City is the organization in Chicago. Chicago's known for like comedy, and Second City is sort of a staple, and Second City is like the feeder for Saturday Night Live. So,
right.
But there's sort of a philosophy in improv and it's been captured in a book, Yes and, basically, which is like, if you're with a group of people and somebody has an idea, or somebody puts something out to the world, or in that brainstorm, you have to say yes and then build on it, versus saying no, but, or yes, but, because that sort of breaks the fundamental rule of improv, which is sort of like saying yes to things and building off of something and building off of an idea. So I think that applies after the message, or after the audience question.
Right. Absolutely.
Once you have the answer to your question, I think the rule is just, in a brainstorm with a group of people, you have to say yes and to get to, because if you're this voice that's sort of controlling everything, it's not a brainstorm. You might as well just sit in your room by yourself and figure it out.
Right.
So I think that's one of the most important rules. So if you haven't read the book, Yes and, it's written by Kelly Leonard and Tom Yorton, from former leaders at Second City. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Changed my world. I love it.
That's awesome. I got to check it out. I think too, to your point with that, I completely agree with that. And I think the other thing too, which we can discuss, falls into it, is the budget. But I try to not throw the budget into conversation at the beginning, simply because it can stifle creativity. Not that I want to give things away, but yes, and, right, is the fact that the problem people have is I feel, I've seen it before, is they limit their imagination because in the back of their head, we can't afford this. Or, well, let's just talk about it. If money wasn't an option,
what would it look like?
What would it look like?
Yeah.
Now, okay, you like that? Now let's figure out how we can scale this down, the same message, the same kind of little, but a scaled down version of it. Maybe it's possible, maybe it's not.
Right.
But that's what, to me, brainstorming is important, is that let's put everything on the table first.
Yeah.
But the only disciplined part I want to keep focused on is, like, once again, what's the message? What are we trying to say here?
Right.
Who's your audience? Okay? Those two things, I think, if you start to walk away from those, if those change, then the whole dynamic changes. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, that's my only concern, my only caveat from a project,
that makes
brainstorming
sense.
perspective.
So the takeaways are, before any brainstorm, know your audience and make sure you understand what the message is you're trying to communicate.
Yes.
And then once you're getting people together to come up with an idea, make sure that you're living by the yes and rule.
And we can go so much deeper than that.
Totally.
And,
but if you're going to take away something, like,
yes, because honestly, there's
a lot of rules. There's a lot of things a lot of tips, a lot of tricks.
It starts to, but I think what happens is when you start to add more and more and more on, which is fine, but then it starts to kind of hone in to what you really want, where you want to go.
Yeah.
But once again, this is all in the ideal world of
Sure.
Conceptualization, because a lot of times you already have the client putting, stopgaps on certain things.
Totally. Yeah.
They'll say, "Hey, I want this. This is," but I think it's up to you and it's up to myself, as they hire us, to be able to give them an educated reason why they might want to consider something else.
Yeah.
It's not enough just to disagree with them for artistic reasons. I think
Sure.
I think that's a difference between a fine artist versus a commercial artist.
Yeah.
You know, people ask me, well, what's the difference? Well, difference is you have to be creative even when you don't want to, or you have to be creative when the budget doesn't allow. Or you have to be creative on a deadline.
Right.
You know, I'm not disrespecting the fine artists because they're fine artists who do commercial work, but to me, I still think they're commercial artists. And I could be insulting a ton of people right now, but there are people who are, as a hobbyist, okay, it's a hobby versus a profession.
Sure.
As a hobbyist artist, when it inspires you, you do it.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference is you're either making something for yourself or you're making something for somebody else.
Right.
Right? I mean, you're being hired as a commercial artist to make something for, like, somebody is hiring you as a service versus you're making it for yourself, and
that's yes, that's more of a, you know, like I said, from a hobbyist, because
Yeah.
there's fine artists who are professionals, you know, and that's what they're selling their work. But I would even go so far as to say this: I think the ultimate goal as an artist, for myself personally, you know, if I'm making a living doing this, if I can create a piece that not only appeals to the client, but not only creates results, but I actually like it too,
yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
totally.
Do you know what I mean?
It's the trifecta.
Yeah.
That's what you want. It's the
You know?
hat trick.
Exactly. The hat trick.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been a fantastic conversation.
It's been
Thank
fun,
you
man.
for tuning in to Stroking Egos with Jim and Matt.
Yeah. I hate to say it. I think you might be right. Well, it's fun because we're, you know, like-minded, but yeah. No, thanks, man. It's been great.
Let's have a coffee chugging contest. Let's chug our way. Dunkin' Donuts, we want to thank you for bringing this piece of content to our viewers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Here we go.
Salute. Killed it. Crushed it.
Yes. High five.